This is an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar illustrating visual literacy. Hi, my name is Larry Jordan. In this short video tutorial, I'll show how changing the position of the camera or the talent can improve an image. This tutorial also includes the very important 180-degree rule. Blocking is how actors move and are positioned. Cameras are also blocked, especially when you have multiple cameras for film or video. We block them for movement and position and framing. There's foreground, that which is closest to the camera, midground, that which is between the foreground and the background, and background, that which is farthest from the camera. Blocking determines where in space our actors move. Let's go back to this shot. If we look at the illustration in the lower right corner, the camera does not see 360 degrees. The camera sees a cone, easiest to think of as a triangle, emanating from the point of the lens and radiating out depending upon the width of the camera angle. As you see in this illustration, I have 4 actors, but I only see 3. Even though actor number 4 is close to the camera, he's or she is outside the cone, the angle that the camera can see. This is why being in front is important. The person in front is bigger than either of the 2 people behind, simply because the angle of view as you get close to the camera gets more and more restricted. This is exactly the staging of our musical group. The woman in the center is closest to the camera, most fills the frame, clearly in front of the 2 women to her left and right, and in front of the 2 people on the edges who are behind the 2 women in the middle. We take advantage of this field of view all the time. It's why we will put the lead singer or the lead dancer center closest to the camera to make them bigger, thereby making them more commanding and grabbing the eye of the viewer. That field of view is not a rectangle. It's a triangle. And we can leverage that as we build the composition of our image. Another important concept is the 180-degree rule. This is the rule that says if you have 2 actors talking to each other and you draw a line connecting their noses, all the cameras that are shooting that scene need to be on the same side of the line to avoid confusing the audience. Now, there are times where we do want to confuse the audience. A fight scene and a chase scene are 2 classic examples where we want the audience to be disoriented. And there, we will purposely cross the 180-degree line to be able to give a sense of chaos and confusion and disorientation to a chase or fight scene. That's done intentionally. But most of the time, especially for multi-camera, connecting the noses and keeping all the cameras on the same side makes it possible for the editor to edit a scene. Notice also that the wide shot does not come from the side. The wide shot comes from the center. Close-ups and over the shoulders are best done from the edges, as close to the line as possible, without crossing it. Let me illustrate. This is a scene from 2 real guys. The wide shot comes from the center camera, and we see the 3 actors and the environment in which they're in. The close-up of Lisa on the right is shot by the camera on the left. Cameras shoot close-ups of the opposite side of the set. The close-up of Andrew on the left is coming from the camera on the right. And the best close-ups come the closer you move the close-up camera to that line. Depth, meaning the difference between foreground and background, is good because the eye goes to that which is in focus. Notice how quickly you spotted the woman on the right. And you're still trying to figure out who's the center of focus of the 3 women on the left. They're all the same size. They're roughly the same brightness. They're all in focus. Not exactly sure who we're supposed to pay attention to. But look at what's happening on the right. We have depth of field, the sense of focus. We'll talk more about that in just a minute. But only one person is in focus. The left-hand picture is shot from the center, the wide shot angle. The right-hand picture is shot from the side, more of a close-up angle. Angles make shots more interesting. Which of these two shots, it's the exact same scene, the exact same group, which of these two shots is more interesting? Both of them have people's faces turned away from the camera, same room. But look at how much more interesting it is to raise the camera a little bit higher and move it off to the side and shoot with a more dramatic angle on the left than this aircraft carrier shot that we have on the right. Shooting from an angle, not dead center, creates much more interesting shots. Let's go back to the shot that we looked at earlier. Look at the staging of both of these shots. Which staging best helps determine the central figure of the story? Well, the image on the left clearly have established that it's the man in the middle. But the image on the right, everybody's equally lit. Everybody's the same size. They're all staring at a computer. As far as I can tell, the subject is about the computer. But notice how boring this shot is. Right, I have the same attitude as the woman on the right. I don't particularly care, and I'm not interested anyway. Shots from the center are really hard to make exciting. The excitement comes from moving around to the edges. Another example. Here I have a wide shot from the center on the left. The exact same scene on the right. Which is more interesting? Right, moving over to the side. Move over the shoulder. One person's in focus, the other is not. The center of object of this whole scene is much clearer. Now, I'm not saying wide shots have no place, but if our goal is to achieve an emotional response, putting the camera dead center is not helping our cause. Let's go back and consider the camera's field of view, that angle. Walking to or from the camera is stronger than moving from side to side. And the reason all has to do with the field of view. As the woman in the top right walks toward the camera, she's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, which then commands our attention. As the people in the bottom left walk from side to side, they stay the same size. We don't particularly see their face. In theater, this is a great move because our eye sees the entire stage and we look at the size of that movement as they cross from the left to the right side of the stage. But in video, everything we see is through the frame. And that conical view that the camera lens has, meaning walking to or from the camera, reinforces that the V pattern of a lens. In a way, walking side to side does not. These ideas went into my book, which is Techniques of Visual Persuasion. This basically summarizes Chapter 2. It's a book that talks about how to create powerful images that motivate change. If you're interested in learning more about the book, the bit.ly link, bit.ly Visual Persuasion, notice the underline, will tell you a whole lot more about it. This was an excerpt of a recent Power Up webinar illustrating visual literacy. For the complete version of this online training, please visit my store at larryjordan.com/store and look for Webinar 312.